I met a woman once in her 80s who told me that when she was a kid, her brother died as a child, and she wasn't even allowed to go to the funeral. Many of us were not modeled emotional openness from our parents, and I believe that contributes to why we don't know how to talk about death with each other. In my work, I encourage these conversations with individuals, groups, and families. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about historically how we've gotten to this point of disconnect, and then I'm going to help you find your way to more connection and pragmatic planning.
So my background comes from funeral service. I'm a licensed funeral director, and over the years I started to identify some gaps in that I was meeting with families and realizing that there were conversations that weren't happening, and what that led to was heartache, regret, just maybe difficulty with end of life. And I thought if I could meet with these families a little bit upstream of the death event itself and really get these conversations going in a supported way, I think this could make for a more positive death experience and really help people to identify their needs, to document them, empower their loved ones to know how to support them, and ultimately help people to make decisions from a point of protecting their loved ones.
How have your experiences with death been over your life in terms of, even back to childhood? How were you talked to about death, or were you allowed to be present for anything?
Not really.
I got interested in this at a very young age. When I was in high school, a girl at my school died. And it was my first experience of death. It was certainly my first experience of someone my own age dying. I didn't really ever think that kids could die. Right. So that really, it sparked an interest in me, and I just needed to know more.
Sudden deaths in these days are a relatively small percentage of the average deaths in Canada. The deaths we see now tend to take a long time. Many of those drawn-out deaths involve numerous health crises. People may recover, but not quite to the stage that they were at prior to the crisis, and it's a slow decline to death. Am I scaring you? I'm not trying to be grim. I'm just trying to illustrate the importance of having these conversations and thinking and talking about end-of-life planning. Okay, do you want to try these cards and see how those go?
Let's see how it goes and see what you discover.
So basically you're going to make 3 piles. Mm-hmm. One pile will be, this statement is very important to me. Middle pile can be like, yeah, it's kind of important. And then the other pile is not important at all. And trying to put yourself in the mindset that you can't speak for yourself, or at the very least, you're in a hospital bed. Yeah. Your world is very small at that point.
We know death's inevitable. Mm-hmm. And loss is likely inevitable too, but regret is preventable. And that's what these conversations beforehand, there is a big fear about death and talking about it. I feel like there's almost a superstition that if you talk about death and plan for it, yes, that it's saying you're ready or it's inviting it in. And in my experience, I don't think I've summoned any deaths by talking about it with people.
Right, yeah.
In fact, I think we've just created a lot of resiliency and a lot of peace of mind.
So, how do we start talking about this? I normalize the topic by creating a comfortable setting to hear the information and a safe space to ask questions. I offer a holistic advanced care planning series where we start with taking stock of what you already have, what you need, and getting it organized, exploring your values and your wishes, and creating a document to give your loved ones an idea of your wishes and how to make decisions on your behalf. And finally, proactive comfort care planning and creating that roadmap I told you about. that will help your loved ones with decision making if they have to. As a funeral director, I have sat with countless families around the arrangement table immediately following the death of a loved one. We sit around that great big table at the funeral home, and I ask them dozens of questions that they have to answer now, often while still in a state of shock and grief, and maybe not even wanting to accept the reality of the loss. What has always struck me as alarming is how few families discussed end-of-life planning, including wishes for end-of-life care.